Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the top 8 coverage of the last World Magic Cup qualifiers for 2016 here in the Philippines. My name is Miguel Otleg,
And I'm Jared Lego.
and we're able to catch another quarterfinal match. This is John Erickson Tubiera playing Naya versus Renzikiel Regala playing Abzan Midrange. So this is game 3. I believe the Burn player, John Erickson Tubiera, is on the play for this one.
Yep. And of course, game 3 meaning both players tied at 1 game apiece. So the one winning this game will, of course, advance to your semifinals.
Okay, so for those who don't know, Renzikiel Regala was actually a finalist for the last World Magic Cup qualifiers. He unfortunately was beaten by Zach Sasaki, so he's out here again to try to get the last lot for our Philippine delegation for the World Magic Cup.
Yep, and Saki, on the other hand, also a finalist for the first WMCQ and ends up taking the second one. So if that's setting a trend, then Renzikiel here could be taking home the gold in this one. Alright, so players getting their starting 7. And
Okay, so here we go. John playing his Bloodstained Mire, fetching, I believe, for a Shockland, so he goes down to 17 in short order. He fetches for a Sacred Foundry.
yep, and being on the play, a big advantage here, obviously for the Naya Burn player. But post board, these Absent decks do pack a lot of hate for these kinds of decks. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and this hit specifically is in the form of life gain effects, I believe.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's normally life gain for the later parts in the game, like with the planeswalkers, etc. But in the early games, you do have that creature removal, and even the path to exiles are sometimes a big thing because the Naya burn decks don't really play a lot of basic lands and don't really need them for that matter. So it's just basically for them at least those path to exile just become an instant 1 mana removal spell, which kind of hurts a little bit.
Okay, so Renzikiel only played a Shambling Vent last turn, so it entered tapped. So right now, John Erickson played a Lava Spike, dealing 3 damage to Renzikiel, so that Renzikiel went down to 16, so that's a prowess trigger for Monastery Swift Spear, which then attacked for 2 damage. So Renzikiel now down to 14.
Yep. So this game could go quick, depending on if Renzikel has anything to defend with. And I guess he's taking his time here, deciding which land to play because I'm assuming this is because it could be a fetch land, and he's considering just fetching a basic land to preserve life total. So we'll see what he does. Goes down to 13.
So yeah, he uses that fetch land, goes down to 13.
And let's see what he gets. I assume it's a basic land though. I mean, some of these Absent decks don't really carry basic land for each color. And I guess he needed green, I guess. That's why he took damage from Overgrown Tomb here.
Well, so he's now down to 11, and he's playing a Collective Brutality.
Yep, collected Brutality, one of the newer cards that are making it to this deck.
Yep, so did he discard a Lingering Souls or a Path to Exile? I'm not too sure. But yeah,
I believe it's a Lingering Souls.
Okay, so the modes are you gain 2 life and your opponent loses 2 life.
Yep, most likely.
And then the other mode is to... Oh, so he uses all modes. Okay. So collective brutality using all modes. So he gets to look at John Erickson's hand. So now we see Path to Exile, Searing Blaze, and a Boris Charm.
Yep.
And then he also has the ability to get -2/-2 to a target creature, which in this case is Monastery Swift Spear. So that creature dies. And there's also a gain 2 life and target opponent loses 2 life. So Renzikiel, Regala still thinking which spell to take away from John Erickson's hand.
What do you take away though, right? I mean, don't you just take the spell with the most damage? I mean, that's what I assume what you're supposed to do, right?
Yeah, but he might be thinking to remove the creature removal, which in this case is Searing Blaze. But yeah,
Yeah.
he's choosing between Boros Charm and Searing Blaze, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, because removing the Searing Blaze still gives the opponent path to exile to remove your creature if that indeed is the concern. So I would naturally assume it's Boros Charm.
Okay, so Renzikiel
And that's what he does.
does take the Boros Charm away.
And John Erickson not using that foothills in the turn, I guess because he wants to draw more lands.
Yeah, and again,
Oh yeah,
Searing,
for the
yeah,
for
Searing
the
Blaze.
for the landfall trigger.
Yep.
Forgot about that.
So did Renzikiel also just pass his turn?
Yeah, I think so. So both players are missing a land drop, right?
Yep, and so now John Erickson decides to use his foothills to fetch for a Sacred Foundry. Oh, I guess he changed his mind. Well, now I guess he's now in the lookout for no more lands and just more action. Seeing that Renzikiel didn't play a 2-drop, a threat, or for... Yeah, he didn't play a threat. So, Searing Blaze would just get stuck in his hand.
Oh, but I mean, Renzikiel did discard Lingering Souls, right? So he knows that creatures are coming once Renzikiel hits 3 mana, and I mean, even if Renzikiel knows that John Erickson has that card in hand, he still can't just not play any his creatures, right? Oh, but he does have the Liana here, which I assume discards a card.
Yep,
And-
so Renzikiel does choose that the +1 ability. So we're gonna see what both players discard from their hands.
Yeah, well, Renzikel's graveyard a bit off camera here, so oh, is that a Swoop Sphere from John Erickson? Or was that the first one that I see on the graveyard? Oh yeah, it's the first Swift Spear.
Yep.
The card he discarded is a bit off camera. We'll try to get that in camera. Renzikel on the other hand discarding Abrupt Decay, which suggests he has more creature control. Yeah.
Yep, so Renzikiel finally having that land last turn to cast Liana. And John Erickson still doesn't have another land, so he just passes the turn again.
Yep.
So that's a Scavenging Ooze for Renzikiel. If this may be an incentive to use Path to Exile in the end of turn, so that he can prevent some life gain.
Well, the thing is, there's one creature in both graveyards, which is that Swift Spear, and Renzikiel does have that Temple Garden untapped. So even if he does, I mean, that still gains him 1 life. So the Searing Blaze, though, that he's had ever since, I mean, that's something he could use. Yep. And he does that. And Renzikiel here considering gaining one life or not.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, but he uses Path to Exile to because he wants more land. I guess that's why it took him a
So
while.
that indicates a 4 drop. What are the possible 4 drops for Renzikel here that could be uh, could be good against John Erickson?
Well, it could just mean that he wants to attack with that shambling vent. So
Oh, yeah, I
I
guess.
mean that's a thing. Against this top deck war, and because you are discarding cards to Liliana first, so I mean yeah. But I mean, as much as 4 drops go, I guess it's could still be Siege Rhino, right?
Well,
Oh, but last
yeah,
time
but
he didn't play that card though, right?
yeah, and in some recent builds of Abzan, um, Siege Rhino hasn't really been a part of their decks. It's I think it's more of Grim Flayer. Yeah, Grim Flayer, a new card from Eldritch Moon. It's yeah, I think it's better than Siege Rhino um, in general for Renzikel's deck because there's a lot of reasons actually, and the main reason why it's good is that it has so much synergy with the deck, having Tarmogoyfs, and also when it can when it deals combat damage, it can help you find some silver bullets in other matchups.
Yeah, but apparently the 4 drop that he wanted to get down was Sorin, which is potentially more life gain.
Okay, so yeah, Renzikel used Sorin to create a vampire token, and that was a judge in instructing John Erickson to not put Rift Bolt on top of the library, as it is actually very close to manipulating game state.
Yep. And
So that's
yeah.
another scavenging ooze, I guess.
Yep. And at
And
this point, I think he'll be gaining that life now.
yep,
And he is down to is he down to 8?
yeah, and so John Erickson has discarded a Skullcrack, I guess, from the last Liliana +1 activation.
Oh well. Oh well, he was tapped out at that point, right? Oh, when he had one untapped mana and couldn't really cast it, so I guess that's a thing.
Okay, so Renzikel activating the +1/+0 and lifelink for all your creatures. And here's an interesting play for John Erickson. He chooses to use Path to Exile, but instead of the 3 power lifelink creature, he chooses to just take away Scavenging Ooze.
Yeah, interesting indeed. Because I mean, as a burn player, you want to make sure you because Renzikel's life total is still within reach for him. I mean, a couple of top decks might do it, and I think what was in the graveyard? Another Scavenging Ooze?
Sorry?
Because there was another Scavenging Ooze for. Oh no, that Scavenging Ooze got exiled. So I think there are no more creatures in graveyard. So what he could have done was got rid of that vampire who's gonna lifelink for 3 damage, right?
Yep, so here's Renzikel gaining 3 life from that attack. So from 8, he goes up to 11. And here's a Rift Bolt targeting Sarin. Okay. So now John Erickson is planning to just, I don't know,
I think he was at 12 earlier. We might have that. We might be wrong with the life totals. Let's just have that check later. But yeah, I think he's down to 11 now. And here's Lingering Souls with a flashback.
right, so that's 4 4/1/1 flying tokens.
Yep, and John Erickson's at 9 at the moment.
That can be a clock. That can be a decent clock. And with Shambling Vent also in Renzikiel's side, this could be threatening uh, to end the game quickly for Renzikiel here.
Yep, but John Erickson still attacks, right?
Yep.
Huh. He
So he goes Goblin Guide, I think.
Yeah. That's the more interesting play, though. I mean, casting Goblin Guide and attacking with it. Because another thing he could have done was just attack with a Swift Spear. Because what happens then is Renzikiel just would probably just block with one lingering soul token. Because he don't want to attack with two for the. Because you don't want to be 2-for-1 by a removal spell. Uh, but in any case, he does cast and flashback another lingering souls, giving him a whole army of flying 1/1s here. So
Yeah. So John Erickson is actually showing some, signs that he doesn't really like the game state, the state where he is right now. Because Renzikiel is quite in the lead, and John Erickson only has one card in hand, and yeah, that's the game. He's been overwhelmed by a swarm of tokens from Renzikiel's side.
right, so Renzikiel Regala advancing to the semifinals. So
Yeah, so that's 2-1 for Renzikiel Regala. He advances to the semifinals.
yep, and we'll be featuring both of the semifinal matchups. So stay tuned for those ones.